This is the story of a badly designed product, which the company advertised as the solar hot water heating answer for residents of the cold north. But before I begin, I'd like to give you a quick background on who we are. We are residential homeowners who are environmentally conscious. We built a renewable energy home that's 100% fossil fuel free, even in our cold region of northern Wisconsin. My husband and I are very knowledgeable in the construction trades, and so our home is built entirely by our own hands, including all carpentry work, tile. We handmade our own cupboards from an oak tree. We cut down trees on our property to create all the artistic woodworking. Roof, gutters, fascia, and soffit. Foundation, block, brick, and stonework with stones handpicked from a quarry. Using those same stones, we built our own fireplace. We did all the plumbing and electrical in the home, including solar PV installation. We did all our own landscaping, retaining block, and brick pavers. We even installed our own 130-foot wind turbine. We also designed and built ourselves a renewable energy heating system that not only heats our domestic hot water, it also heats the home using a hydronic in-floor system. Our heating system includes 3 sources of heat. An electric heat pump that uses electricity generated by the sun or wind. A hydronic wood boiler to use on cloudy and or windless low energy days. And we installed solar thermal panels for a direct conversion of sunlight into heat. The solar thermal panels are made by Kingspan Solar, formerly Thermomax, and were advertised as the solar hot water collector of the North. These panels were different than conventional solar thermal panels. These panels consisted of evacuated vacuum tubes, which in theory, cold temperatures cannot affect anything in a vacuum. The panels can produce 180 degree Fahrenheit degree water on a negative 20 Fahrenheit degree day in full sun. The company is correct advertising that the solar panels can produce a lot of heat in very cold outside temperatures, thanks to the vacuum. But the problem is, cloudy, sunless days and long, dark nights happen, and the tubes freeze. Here's a tube from one of the panels. It's a single tube, and here's how it works. Inside this glass vacuum tube is a thin hollow tube of copper, which has a small amount of distilled water inside of it. The copper tube and the distilled water are heated up thanks to this blue coated copper front that absorbs the sun's rays. That heat inside this copper tube with the distilled water runs all the way up, carrying the heat up to this neck, and then eventually up to this copper bulb, which then warms up. It's really warm right now. The copper bulb at the top of each tube is placed into a copper manifold, which transfers the heat to the fluid that circulates through the manifold, carrying that heat into the home, which then heats up our domestic hot water tank and the floors in our house. Winters in Wisconsin can be long and brutally cold, and we found that even a vacuum tube is no match, even though the company said this product was made for extreme cold temperatures. Here we have 2 different tubes. On the left is a good tube. There's nothing wrong with this tube at all. On the right is a damaged tube that has been frozen. And if you can see the difference between the 2 of them, here, let's turn them over. The bad tube, if you look inside of it, is full of water. The good tube, this beautiful shiny new back, has no water inside of it at all. So where is the moisture coming from? Well, here I have two tubes. This is a good tube, and this is a bad tube. And if you can see the difference, the good tube is not swollen at the bottom here, whereas the bad tube, you can see the copper has been swollen. What's happening is the distilled water that's inside this copper sleeve falls to the bottom and condenses, and then it freezes. And when it freezes, it swells the copper up like this, like a bulb, and it breaks the copper, which you can see by this little slit. And once that is broken open, then the moisture inside this copper tube gets out, and it condensates and fogs up the tube. And you can see the difference between the bad one, it's all foggy, and a good tube is not. The bad thing is that once that water condenses inside the glass like that, the tube is bad. The tube doesn't work anymore. It's completely dead. It cannot make heat. It just ceases to work. It ceases to make any heat. Every tube that is damaged looks like this. They all have a big swollen copper bottom to them, just like this, with a slit, and the moisture has seeped out of it and has fogged up the entire tube with moisture. Every single one of them that is bad and doesn't produce heat anymore looks like this.
Kingspan was notified immediately as soon as we discovered our solar heating production was down, and we discovered frozen tubes scattered throughout the solar panel collectors on the roof. They said they were aware of the design flaw. Their remedy was to give us a lifetime warranty of unlimited replacement tubes. We asked Kingspan if they would instead replace the evacuated tube panels for old-fashioned flat-plate solar collector panels, which Kingspan also sold. Flat-plate collectors don't use vacuum tubes, but instead circulate an antifreeze solution throughout the interior of the panel. But Kingspan refused and said the only remedy they'd offer was unlimited replacement tubes. And so from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and all the way to 2017, Kingspan sent us new tubes to replace frozen ones. We were annoyed by having to climb on the roof every year to replace bad tubes because of this company's bad product design. As renewable energy environmentally conscious people, it was also disgusting knowing that every new tube shipped that greenhouse gases were generated by the shipping trucks, which was nothing compared to the garbage waste generated by discarding bad tubes. We tried to recycle as much as we could by breaking down the elements that composed each tube. It was a lot of work smashing the glass, tearing out the copper, and clipping off the non-copper parts and hauling each component to a specific facility so as to make as least waste as possible. For a company who's supposed to be environmentally friendly by making green technology, this was a nightmare. Then in late 2017, we called Kingspan up once again with a bad tube count and a request for a new batch of replacement tubes. This time, Kingspan informed us they designed a new type of tube that doesn't freeze. These new technology tubes were currently being tested at a facility in Alaska, and if they passed with flying colors, it would be sent to manufacturing, and then they would replace all our old tubes for free. The man on the phone estimated it would be 3 months.